Hello, thank you to the team at JCI Software House for making this opportunity possible, and to the attendees for joining us today. We're going to share an overview of Iris ID systems and how our biometric iris recognition solution can be integrated with Software House's Secure 9000 solution beyond the traditional WeGand interface that has been popular over many years. The combined solution offers a very strong, secure, as well as fast and convenient way to authenticate individuals across many applications and many verticals using iris identification. The iris is a unique and very stable biometric that provides a very fast and accurate way to authenticate ourselves. When combined with Secure 9000, credentials can be added or deleted from Secure and are automatically updated in the Iris ID solution known as EAC. The ICAM hardware and software solutions can be used in a variety of ways, with Secure to offer single to multi-factor authentication when iris alone is used or when combined with cards and PIN numbers. Shown are some of the different ICAM models available through JCI. I would like to share a little history of Iris ID, a high-level overview of the iris recognition solutions we offer today, and why our ICAM products may be a strong fit for different applications. We have some very competitive advantages and perform quite strongly over other biometric products. Further detailed software and hardware documentation is available on the JCI and Iris ID websites as well. The Iris ID solutions are deployed globally, and the original hardware was first launched in 1997. So we have a long history in both iris software and hardware development. You may have known us also as the LG Iris Technology Division of LG Electronics USA before we became Iris ID Systems. Many of the current Iris ID team members have been working on the business and technical aspects of the hardware and software for over 15 years. The Iris Access platform is the most deployed globally, and we have many customers that use our technology across many countries and with many different generations of the product. If they enrolled in the year 2003, they could still be identified today using the most recent technology. Today we have offices and development locations in New Jersey in the United States, in South Korea, India, and satellite business offices in Dubai, Singapore, and Mexico. Some of the different models of Iris ID technology are pictured here, ranging from our proven 5th generation ICAM 7S solution to some of our newest mobile kits just arriving this year. All these models continue to have great success with commercial and federal programs and are prevalent in national ID programs and in many government and commercial facilities globally. The different models range in operating distances from 12 inches to over 1 meter, and all meet government standards for iris image quality and safety. Additional detail is available on specific features and how they integrate. The Iris ID software, known as EAC, or Iris Access Entry Access Control, is what has been integrated with Secure 9000. This platform, while capable of credentialing and controlling the WeGand data out to Secure in earlier deployments, can now be updated by the integration between Secure directly. Changes by the customer of the credentials or personal permissions will also update EAC automatically. Additions, deletions can all be done through Secure. The Iris ID Accelerator is a platform geared for matching iris databases in populations greater than 100,000 persons and into the millions. Successful national ID programs and even voter registration and border crossing applications have deployed the Iris Accelerator. There are also a few development kits available for the different iris hardware solutions provided. The basis of iris recognition is the iris. The iris is the outer ring around the pupil of the eye. While many are colored, many are very dark, but all have unique detail. The Iris ID cameras take non-contact, focused video images of the iris from a distance where software algorithms perform a countermeasure check, convert the grayscale image to a template, and identify the individual in about 2 seconds. The template size of the Iris ID technology is about 500 bytes, which allows 2 templates to also be written to a smart card if desired. The iris stays stable for life and is very protected by the lens and eyelashes of the eye. The tissue lines and features develop before a child is born, and the iris detail is stable at about 1 year of age. Our iris cameras can qualify an iris enrollment for acceptance and then authenticate the iris in the future, even if the later verification image is not as high quality as the initial enrollment data. Due to the accuracy and stability of Iris ID's technology, the technology is deployed across many one-to-many identification platforms. The quality of the cameras and strength of the imaging software allows Iris to be successful even when the subject is wearing glasses or even safety goggles. The Iris iCam readers cannot process images that reveal health or medical related facts, and all have been tested for eye safety. Greater detail on enrollment and safety certifications are also provided on the Iris ID website. Every iris is unique, so the left and right eyes are completely different. Iris recognition is not retinal scanning, but often confused. The retina is the back of the eye and is very difficult to use and often changes over life. Retina imaging is not used for authentication due to its invasiveness and instability. A review of the strengths of iris recognition are as follows. Most all people in the world have at least one iris. That means the iris has the smallest outlier population. While everyone has a face, identical siblings and similar characteristics often cause a problem with the face, and some people have very difficult fingers or hands to regularly measure for prints. The stability of the iris and a proven algorithm contribute to Iris ID's success. One enrollment can usually last a lifetime. The detail is capable of being searched against large databases, and the ID can be made by single or multi-factor. The search speed is much faster than other biometrics. The user interface of the Walk-Up iCam 7S series is demonstrated here. The distance and colored hologram are shown as well. When an individual looks at the mirror on the iCam and centers the colored dot between their eyes correctly, identification can be made very quickly. User feedback is audible and visual. The iCam also has tilt and auto-tilt capabilities. After the first enrollment, the user quickly understands how to use the iCam, and the auto-tilt increases speed and requires no contact. Advantages of using the iCam readers over other biometric solutions can be seen from examples here. Our iris readers can most often identify people who may have problems using other finger, face, vein, and even less experienced iris readers that are new to the market. Many of our customers need all their employees to work and cannot waste time managing employees or customers who may have trouble using other biometric readers. The Iris ID iCam readers do not have problems with false rejections or false accepts, and most all of our customers begin deployments with only a few units and then quickly expand their system as they see the superior performance Iris ID offers. Our iCam units can be deployed and are often used when people work in challenging jobs or even while wearing protective clothing, glasses, and goggles. As you can see from the examples, there are many scenarios to review why Iris is a leader in accurate, non-contact authentication. The following video clips show iris recognition in action in different scenarios and applications.
Please center your eyes in the mirror. Thank you. Your identity has been verified.
Please enter your eyes in the mirror. Thank you. Your identity has been verified.
The following pictures show a wide diversity of deployments. Moving from left to right, we have been successful in construction sites for several years where employees cannot use other biometrics with regular success. Data centers and clean rooms often need consistent performance and assurances that the Iris solution will work on everyone. Iris ID regularly works with teams on integration to turnstiles and man traps, as well as even key boxes and storage facilities. Sensitive areas in hospitals and labs can count on Iris ID for security, accuracy, and even for the identification to be successful for users while wearing hazmat hoods and goggles, as you saw. For over 15 years, the iCam readers have been deployed at airports and border crossings due to their consistent performance. Frequent flyer programs and national employee screening programs continue to expand with the Iris ID platform, and often deploy the iCam units into kiosks and self-check stations as well as visitor management applications. Today the focus is on the newest generation walk-up iris readers called the iCam 7S series or 7000S series. 8 iCam 7S options made up of 2 colors are available. LCD touchscreens with pin pad and or built-in HID smart card reader that reads multiple cards and frequencies are optional. A brief snapshot of different model configurations is shown. Adding one software license, the base EAC software, and user levels ranging from 500 credentials, the EAC 500, up to 100,000 credentials is all that is needed. There are some optional accessories such as recessed mounts and power supplies. The ICAM 7S models require 12 to 24 volt DC power and are network-based devices with WeGAN in and out connections. Hardware guides are also available for download and come with the install software. We will be reviewing the integration with Secure using the ICAM 7111S-H1B model. This has been a built-in card reader and touchscreen keypad. These models are all UL294 and have integrated audio and visual feedback as well as face capture cameras.
Thank you. Your identity has been verified.
Here's a quick review of many of the topics we have touched on. The iris provides a very high level of authentication that is stable after 12 months of birth. Even identical twins have different iris templates, and both left and right are different. The probability of two eyes being the same are over 1 billion, and identification can be made without contact and even while wearing glasses in most cases under 2 seconds. Database searches can be done with or without cards and is scalable into the millions of persons. Of significance is the capability for Iris ID to provide robust countermeasures combined in the hardware and software, which is important for many deployments and also separates Iris ID from other manufacturers. Technical details can be found on the JCI website and Iris ID website. Thank you very much.
For the technical portion, we are going to start with an overview of the Iris ID Iris Access System. Then we will integrate the Iris Access System with the Secure 9000 system, and then finish with a brief demonstration on how to add and delete users. The EAC software package consists of 4 primary applications. Iris Server, which controls the system communication between the EAC applications, the EAC database, and the ICAMs. Iris Manager is the interface for system and user management. Iris Monitor is the real-time monitor of system status and transactions. And Iris Enroll is the application used for enrollment of the user's irises into the system. The basic Iris Access System consists of a computer running the Iris Server and other EAC software applications, an enrollment ICAM, Iris Access ICAMs at the entry or field locations, and all these components of the Iris Access System communicate to each other over a standard TCP/IP Ethernet network. For enrollment, the user presents their eyes to the enrollment camera. The enrollment camera then takes the iris images and converts them to a 512-byte iris code. This iris code is then sent to the Iris Server and then stored in the Iris Access EAC database. When permissions are granted to the user, a copy of the iris code is created and sent back through the Iris Server over the network and into the appropriate camera where the user has permission. Once at the ICAM, it's stored in the internal ICAM database. For identification, the user presents their eyes to the remote ICAM, where the image is then converted to a new 512-byte iris code, then compared to the iris code that's stored in the database. If there's a match, the card ID of the user is output via WeGAN output to the access control panel, where the access control panel will match against its database and perform the appropriate action depending on the user permission. In this next section, we'll cover the integration of the Iris Access EAC system and the Secure 9000 system. Here's the overall diagram of Iris Access and Secure system integration. The system consists of a combined Secure and Iris Access server with SQL database, an enrollment and EAC application computer, an enrollment ICAM, field remote ICAMs, and secure access control panels. We will start with a typical secure access control system setup with card readers. We then install the Iris Access EAC Iris server and create an EAC database on the SQL server. Then we add a client computer with EAC software applications including Iris Enroll, add an Iris Enroll camera, which will be controlled by the Iris Enroll application. Then we will replace the card readers with Iris cameras and connect the Wiegand output from the iCams to the secure access panels. Then we will complete the integration by installing the Iris Access import services to connect the secure software and the EAC software. It is at this point that we will show the actual integration process. And here we have our combined server. It contains Secure and EAC Iris Access software. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a connection between the two software systems so that we can enroll users on the Secure system and then enroll the Iris in the Iris Access system. So just to demonstrate, we'll show that currently the Iris Access database is blank. So we're going to Iris Manager. And if you notice, there's no users. Okay, what we want to do is we want to take our users, which are already in the Secure database, which we'll show you. Right now we currently have 12 users. Now some of these users have valid credentials, others do not. But rather than typing in their information and having them in the Iris Manager, we're going to create a connection between the systems to do this automatically. So for now what we'll do is we'll just close these, and we need to install a program called Iris IA import for Secure, and that's located in the software installation package in the EAC software. And we want to select the IA import, and we just click the executable and click install. Yes. And click next. Accept the terms. Click next. And this is the path on where it's going to be installed. So we're going to actually use this computer as the program for running IA import. So we'll go in here and we'll put in the security IDs of all ones, and I'll show you in a minute where that will match. The user ID is the login for the EAC software, which by default is administrator, and Iris 3000 is the password. Click next. Now we need to point to the folder directory where the Crossfire software is located, and that's in the Tyco folder under Crossfire. Click OK. Click next and install. And then we'll click finish. So now what we'll do is we'll now that the installation is complete, we'll go into our restart our services. So we'll go into the server configuration for Secure, and we'll stop the service. Now that both are stopped, we'll click Start to restart the processes. Okay, now that they're both running, we'll check the server components, and we want to make sure that this Iris ID Next Gen Connected program is now started. Okay, so it just switched to running. So now that is set, and we had our Iris server running, and we're going to just restart that as well. And we just simply go click exit, and then we restart that. Okay, and it's showing at the bottom here is the Iris server is now running. Okay, so now we need to go in and finish setting up our IA import utility. So we need to go into the actual installed directory, and that's under C Program Files x86 Iris ID, and then IA Import Services. And we want to go into the IA Import Configuration Manager, and that's this top icon here is the executable. Click Yes. And here it shows some shows the IA import server log and the Secure listener log. So there is some activity right now, but we still need to finish setting up some things. So we want to click on the Secure listener settings. Now this selection says that we're going to use a card format of decimal, meaning that the card ID coming over from the Secure system is going to be in decimal format, and then it's going to be, when that person is identified, it's going to be converted to the Wiegand format and sent to the Secure panel. We're going to not put any filters in at this time, and it's going to synchronize all the records on startup, plus it will do a full synchronization check at 3 a.m. and we can change this if needed. Since we're not going to make any changes here, we're going to click Close, and then we need to click on the IA Import Server Settings. Enter them here, so we're going to do the loopback address and our security ID, which is all ones. Username is administrator, and our password is Iris 3000. Now, just to show you, is the security ID, or where this information comes from, is in the Iris Manager under Creation. So I'm going to reopen my Iris Manager real quick and show you under Creation for Iris Enroll. We have the entry for IA import, which is at the loopback address, meaning it's on the same computer here, and we put in the security ID of all ones. And that's what information we just copied into here. I click on Update Settings, click OK, and it says I need to restart the IA import service for this to take effect. Click OK, and this will stop and also restart the IA import service. So we stop the service, and I click Start, and now it's showing the connection is taking place, and the user information is now downloading from the Secure server into the Iris Access EAC server. and we should be able to go now to our Iris Manager, which now we see that we have the information on the server. So I'm going to just close this, I'm going to minimize this, and compare our entries. Now I'm going to demonstrate how we can add people to the system. So I'm going to enroll myself into the CCure. Click New, and I'll enter in my first name, last name, and we'll give myself a credential. So I'll give my card ID number of 7772, and we'll hit save and close. And if you notice, my name shows up in the Secure system, and now it also shows up in the Iris Access system. I'm going to enroll myself, and I need to keep note of my user ID 5069, and I'm going to switch over now to the enrollment computer to perform the Iris enrollment. Now I'm on the enrollment workstation, and we're going to open our Iris Enroll. And we'll connect to our enrollment camera. Alright, so now I'm going to perform an Iris enrollment, and I'll select Enroll, and now it prompts me to look into the mirror.
We've finished taking pictures of your eyes.
And here it's pulled up my iris images, and I have a pretty decent quality, so I'll just go on to verification test. Present my eyes again, and I click OK. So now this is where I'll click in fill in user information. Since I already have an entry in the database, I want to add the iris to it. So my number is 5069. Get user information. So this is all my current information in the system. And I'll click next and finish. And it's that simple. Now, if we go back to, actually we could open up the Iris Manager on this computer. And you can see here it shows my name, and now it has a silhouette, a full silhouette of myself, which means that I have been enrolled into the Iris system, and I have credentials. I can double click on this and see my details in the Iris Access system, and here it shows that both eyes are enrolled both eyes. And click cancel. And now I can go over to the door camera, and what we'll do is we'll also open up the Iris monitor here so we can show the transaction. And it shows that the front door or the entry door is online with the details. And up in this portion we'll see is the transaction. So now when I present my eyes to the door entry camera, I've been identified, and it will show that I have been accepted into the iris system and records my transaction data. At the same time, the Wiegand output was sent to the Secure system, and the Secure system should now also show that transaction. Alright, now back on the Secure server, we're going to show how we can change the credential for a user. So I'll go into my entry here, and I need to go in here and add another card, and say in this case 8885. And we're going to actually disable, say I lost my previous card, and we create the new one. We hit save and close, and you should notice instantaneously it will update the card ID for my record. So now it provides me the new credential. Okay, and also now I want to demonstrate that if you delete a user from Secure, I'll select delete and click yes, then that user will be deleted from the EAC database as well, along with their iris template. That now completes the iris access and Secure integration. Existing users in the Secure database can now have their irises enrolled for use with the iris cameras by simply enrolling in Iris Enroll with reference to the user ID which is in the Secure system. When the users identify at the iris camera, their card credentials will be output from the iCam to the access control panel via the iCam's Wiegand output. The Wiegand output of the iCam will accurately emulate the output of a card read.